Good evening. This is the call to order for the Thursday, April 10th, 2025 Policy Committee meeting at 5:30. Mrs. Shope, could we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Tom Hankins,
Here.
Amy Levy, Brian Nichols.
Here.
All members are present except Amy Levy.
Thank you. Could I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, we're moving on to first policy for review tonight is
Point of order.
yes. Could I get approval of the minutes, please?
So moved.
Any second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Point of order. Do we need a second, Michelle?
I did second.
Okay. Aye.
Aye. All in favor? That's it. Motion carried. Okay, now we're going to get to the policies for review. 2A, policy 881.1, district booster clubs, and Miss. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Dr. Garrison.
Sure. So thank you, Mr. Nichols. We have brought to you all a new policy in which we will be discussing the district booster clubs conversation. Over the years, we have not had a policy in relationship to our booster clubs. This is something that I was aware of coming into this year and believe that this was the year where we can actually start, making sure that we are in alignment with not just other districts, but also just in general what we want to see in our booster club in our school district. With that being stated, I did ask Mr. Gratz to assist me in this space, and he has been instrumental in putting together some of this information. One of the things I want to say is that we have had a few conversations with community members as well as other booster clubs, and Mr. Gratz has been able to pull this together in a timely manner. One of the things I want to say is typically when we're looking at any new policies, there are iterations of it, okay? It doesn't necessarily start off with what you want, and then you go through another iteration of it, and it kind of brought us to kind of where we are today. These conversations did start, like I said, back into last year, and again, here we are with another conversation. So let me also address that we were supposed to bring this to the policy conversation back in, one could argue back in February. We weren't able to have that conversation then. Then there was some considerable conversations needed to have with other booster clubs in this space in March. And so here we are now in April, bringing this to you for consideration. With that being stated, that's an overview, real quick snapshot of the policy, and I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Gratz to kind of walk us through it, and then we'll open it up for discussion per policy chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Gratz. It's all yours.
There we go. So again, just to reiterate what Dr. Garrison stated, we're shaping this policy over the last 9 or so months that I've been here, just to try to get something on paper that made sense for everybody, made sense for the school, and I think this is over that time frame. Speaking with many different groups outside of the school district of Beloit, this is kind of how it shaped out. The first piece is be compliant with state of Wisconsin Booster Club guidelines. It is in the policy linked to Parent Booster USA, and that is Parent Booster USA is a nonprofit started by legal attorneys skilled in nonprofit and tax law to help protect organizations around the country. That's been around for about 20 years now. I think 6,000 groups in all 50 states utilize this space as kind of a guiding principle. So that is what that first section is, and where that link takes you. moving into number 2, and do we want to stop at each spot at all, or do you just want me to roll through?
I'd suggest you go ahead and roll, and then we'll come back.
Yep.
Grab
Okay.
questions. Okay. Thank you.
Number 2 must be an IRS 501c3 and be able to provide applicable documentation annually on or before July 1st. So, for example, if this policy went into effect July 1 of this coming year, would be we would need to have that 501c3 status set up. There's a variety of reasons for this. This helps us with donations from outside entities, tax-exempt status, helps avoid, there's policies to do that. You have to maintain Title IX regulations, avoid supporting any political activities, and can't, by providing campaign donations or placing advertisements about candidates or anything like that. So there's some things that already align with our own policies that we have in place that would lead us to want that IRS 501c3 status in place for our booster clubs. The third piece, have a certified financial specialist manage financial statements, tax filings, and be able to provide applicable documentation. In its simplest form, since we are in tax season, essentially you would have a group do your taxes for you. We want to make sure we're maintaining compliance. They would also help. A third-party group would also help to make sure that 501c3 status is maintained year to year and be prepared for what would be upcoming in the next year. Number 4, have written organizational bylaws stating that 100% of profits shall be issued directly to the group or groups the booster club is/was supporting, with no organizational bylaw changes if the booster club is no longer operational, including but not limited to loss of nonprofit status and or the minimum board is not maintained. In Section B, the booster club is no longer approved for operation with the school district of Beloit or at any school district of Beloit events. This one, again, just making sure in our current fundraising policies, we have a statement essentially saying, almost identical to this, all things fundraised for are going back to what they were raised for. And so it's kind of piggybacking off of that policy and making sure that we are, again, making sure that we're doing what's best for our district.
Excuse me. Can I interrupt you for just a
Absolutely.
second? Mr. Gratz?
Yep.
Michelle, Mrs. Johnson just, whatever in-call message said she can't hear. Is the volume on? So I'm not the techie. I can't. So.
Do you want me to text her
I just texted her and said that you went to get somebody to check on it. So.
Yep, it's working on this end, so she might just want to log out and try logging back in and see if that helps, and make sure that her sound isn't muted or something on her computer.
She says now she can hear someone typing. That would be me.
I'm sorry?
I said she could hear somebody typing. That was me typing her a message. So hopefully we're successful.
Good. Okay. We put a compliance timeline in that section as well, 10 days to comply with this policy, up-to-date banking statements, and last 90 days of history. Again, that's taking from other school district policies just as a time frame and making sure that everything is in as much compliance as possible. The fifth section, this is in reference to our district policy 840. Donations over $1,000 should be submitted to the Director of Athletics and Activities to be brought to the Board of Education by the superintendent. Again, that's just referencing one of our policies already in place. Questions on any specifics? There's more written about what booster clubs are for, but
Okay. Board Member Hankins, do you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Gratz, I'm just curious, and I know we revise our policies as we go through our school year, and was there anything that triggered this revision? And if so, what's the motivation and what are we trying to tie up? Or is it just housekeeping?
yes, I think I would say a little bit of both. Obviously, we want a policy in place anytime a group is working with our students or with our coaches or with our school district. It's best practice to have a policy in place to protect ourselves as well as them. There were also a few events over the prior to my arrival that were brought to my attention just in regard to lack of transparency, around booster club finances. And so those triggered a little bit more, kind of pushing forward a little bit more. And again, I'm only about 9 months old in this position, so I needed to take some time kind of for discovery and figure out what we needed and what all was in place. We currently have 6 operational booster clubs that we're aware of within our district, so making sure that those are all working in conjunction with what's in the best interest of the district.
Thank you. And in the end, at the end of the day, then everybody will come into a compliance under the same rules and regs, and then you and the board and the admin will have a handle on all these revisions, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
The only question I have, Mr. Gratz, is on number 3, you say have a certified financial specialist. Are you referring to a CPA?
Yeah, I didn't narrow it down to that just because I didn't want to be overly specific, but it definitely can be revised if needed.
We might want to consider CPA or financial specialist managed financial. That gives you a little. I think it gives you a little more leeway to you can use a CPA or you can use CPAs are certainly. I have one do my taxes, but they can also do 501c3s and stuff like that. I think that's clarifying it just a little bit more. That's just a suggestion. It's open for more discussion.
I agree, and then possibly that they don't have a conflict of interest with the board or the district, that said person.
Okay.
Just a general thought. Banks could also review financials based off of what we're asking for, or financial management institutions like you just mentioned. Is that something that we'll be amenable to, or would we want to be specific to?
Well, I think
CPAs.
you would. If you were going to do that, you'd want an independent bank, not the bank that the Booster Club is doing business with. I think. What do you think? I mean, that's a question more than an answer.
I think these are our partners, and I would think that their banking institutions are held to
They are.
high regard, and so
Okay.
using their banks and their banking institutions to me would make sense. But it's up to the board on that one.
Well, I think a financial specialist would qualify a bank. They have people within the bank that can handle that kind of stuff. But anyway, Board Member Hankins.
Yeah, and nobody wants, and the Booster Club is here to raise money.
Right.
And we don't want them having to spend a lot of dough to
Correct.
do this
Right.
requirements. It's
Yeah.
counterproductive. So whatever's easiest and
Okay.
least costly.
Okay, what about CPA, bank, or financial specialist managed financial statements? That kind of covers, I think, everything.
I think that does cover.
Yeah, okay. Sound good to you?
Yeah, I would, banking institution include credit unions.
Yep.
We don't want to, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We don't want to make this sentence, 10 miles long either, so. Okay,
Can I get clarification on what you wanted to say now?
how about CPAs have a CPA, bank, or financial specialist manage financial statements, tax filings, and be able to provide applicable documentation? Okay? Go ahead, Mr. Gratz. Is that it
Yep, I think that's everything on my end.
on your agenda? Okay. I know there's a lot that was taken off on the original, or from the original policy. I don't think I have any other questions. Board Member Hankins? Yes? Yes.
Mrs. Evans has her hand up, but it's up to you to address.
Okay, well,
I know.
we're not supposed to, I know that happened the last time, but I was actually out of order, so unfortunately, this is not a public speaking meeting. That would be the full board on Tuesday. These policies will come back for approval to the full board on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and then that's where we have public speaking, public comments. Okay, Michelle. So number 3 would be have a CPA, bank, or CPA, bank, or financial specialist manage financial statements, tax filings, and be able to provide applicable documentation. So we're deleting certified and it becomes CPA, bank, or financial specialist. Good? Okay. All right. So could I get a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the addition of policy 881.1 district booster clubs, waiving first reading and approving for final reading to the,
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 2B, and that is to renumber 2 policies due to the conflict of this one. So currently 881 is being used for our relations with families/school organizations, PTO, PTA. If we want to go by the WASB policy guide, 881.1 should be the booster club policy, and the relations with family/school organizations should be 881.2. There's also an 881.1 Rule 1 that would need to be renumbered to 881.2 Rule 1. These policies were revised about a year and a half ago in July 2023. So if there's any discussion, we can have discussion. Really, we just need to move to recommend the minor revision of renumbering these 2 policies as stated, and for final reading final reading tonight at the committee. This is just going to be an adjustment to the numbers and doesn't have to go to the full board. So Could I get a motion?
So moved.
I second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. So, Mrs. Shope, you can make those changes in the background, right? Thank you. Okay, the next policy is 2C, promotion and retention, 345.4. I see that Mrs. Beavers has joined us virtually. Can you hear me, Mrs. Beavers?
I can hear you.
Okay. Would you like to just kind of briefly just describe the minor changes you've made to this policy for the committee?
Yep, absolutely. So we originally pushed this to the full board, and there was some questions that the administration had at the full board regarding striking the appeal process. So we went back and we kind of cross-referenced the guidance from DPI in regards to F20 and promotion, and we did add a sentence under Roman numeral 3, retention, the very last sentence, in the event that the school/district representatives recommend retention, but the parent or guardian does not consent, the student will be promoted to the next grade regardless of other factors. And then we did recommend striking the appeal process, which was the original recommendation.
Thank you. Any
You're welcome.
Board Member Hankins, do you have any comments or questions on that subject?
No, just a clarification maybe, and I don't make a big deal about it, but I think the questions came from the board and not admin about the selective process, and I think I remember Mrs. Levy leading that charge on the clarification and making sure that we were doing this the right way, and so I just want to make that that's my remembrance, and it's not a big deal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing else. Could I get, what did I do with my, there we go. So I need a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of policy 345.4, promotion and retention, waiving first reading, approving for final reading.
So moved.
I'll second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. The next item is D, 345-4, Rule 1, promotion criteria, and this is for a retirement, because this is all covered in the other policies. So, is there any discussion, or shall we? Mr. Hankins, do you have any?
No, I don't.
Okay. So need a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the retirement of policy 345.4, Rule 1, promotion criteria, waiving first reading, approving for final reading.
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is policy 2E, number 113, student and employee sexual harassment policy, Title IX. So this policy is being brought back to reverse the prior revision and remain in compliance with federal law. I will open it up for discussion.
You mind?
Go ahead. Mr. Hankins?
If you would, Committee Chair Nichols, could you go through what you just stated about why we're going to go back to what the reasoning behind it, please?
Okay, the changes to Title IX, and if you look at the attachment that was on with the policy, a federal judge on January 9th vacated the 2024 Title IX rule nationwide. So that means it went back to, and there's all kinds of legal opinion, data in the footnotes. So basically, it changed the policy back to what it was before, when we changed our Title IX policy, went through legal at great expense to change. We changed it, and now, because of the change back, we needed to change our policy back to that policy, and it's without incurring lots of extensive legal costs.
And for the listening audience, when do we revise that?
When will we?
Yeah, no, when did we revise it?
November. No, December.
Prior to the ruling, December 24, I believe.
It was actually November, I believe.
Okay. I mean, we did revise it, but then the ruling changed, so we're wanting to go in compliance with
That is
the
correct.
federal ruling.
That's
Thank you.
Okay. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, I need a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of Policy 113, Student Employee Sexual Harassment Policy, Title IX, waiving first reading and approval for final reading.
So moved.
I'll second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. Board President Johnson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I apologize, but I haven't asked if you want to. I didn't see a hand raised, so I just want to make sure you were there and you could hear us. So please,
I can. Thank you, Vice President Nichols.
you're welcome. Thank you. So, okay, I think we need to do this in reverse order a little bit. No, I guess we can do it this way. Okay. Policy 2F 141, Board Officer Elections. This is to review the policy for proposed changes or revisions. And the revisions are stated in the policy that's attached. And we're adding the word "and" after clerk and before treasurer on the first line, and deleting "and parliamentarian." That's line through, and then down in paragraph 3, we're adding the word "or" in front of clerk on the second line and deleting "or parliamentarian." So I'll open up that for discussion. Board Member Hankins.
Yeah, as I read through this, and actually, as my first year has gone through, coming to a close pretty quick. I kind of struggled with the parliamentarian being a member of the board, but also weighing in on opinion. And if we're reading straight from Robert's Rules of Order, which we should, we really don't need an opinion. That we all have our handbooks and they're readily available. So I kind of struggled with that throughout the year. And this is nothing on Mrs. Levy, nothing. But I just think it's a conflict of interest to have that position a board member. I'm fine with having a parliamentarian, but not at a board position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hankins. Well, a couple of things. In one sense, that is correct. The other, even quite frankly, I think is we don't a parliamentarian is not required. As a matter of fact, I checked, and none of the districts around us have a parliamentarian. That being Clinton, Beloit Turner, Janesville, or Parkview. None of them have a board parliamentarian or a parliamentarian. Period. So, and the parliamentarian can only advise, but not. It's up to the final decision is up to the president of the board. So I think this will facilitate shorter meetings a little bit, and and we all the members of the board need to be more up to speed on Robert's Rules of Order, because that's how we run the board. So it's required. It's a policy. In fact, if I looked up the state WASB policy, and there's no mention of a parliamentarian in the policy for any of these policies that we have. And there's more to come. There's like three more. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's three more to come. So that's behind the policy. So, Board Member Hankins.
Yeah, just to weigh in again, Mrs. Levy, and this is nothing against her, or I just think, and to be truthfully honest with you, Chairman Nichols, I'm really not concerned about Clinton or Turner or anybody else. It's our district I'm concerned about. As long as we're within the guidelines that WASB guides us in, then I think we're fine. And I think in this day and age, Robert's Rules of Order are in a handbook, but they're readily available on our computer savvy people who can touch it and go. So thank you.
Right. Board President Johnson, I wanted to check with you before I move. Dr. Garris wants to speak next. I wanted to check with you if you had any comments.
Sure thing. I spoke to Dan Rossmiller, the president of the WASB, and he told me verbally having a sitting board member serve as parliamentarian is bad practice. It can give a perception of bias and trying to perhaps manipulate the outcome of whatever motion or item we're looking at. I did also speak to the board attorney, Doug Whitty, and he also verbally indicated that it is bad practice to have a sitting board member serve as parliamentarian. Just as Board Member Hankins mentioned, I am not opposed to us having a parliamentarian, but for best practices, it should be a non-sitting board member.
Okay, thank you, Board President Johnson. Dr. Garrison.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the board not having a, how can I say this? I believe the board should have a parliamentarian. One of the things that I've learned since I've been here is that there are many different opinions around what should happen from Robert's Rules, and having from the board, I should say, and having some clear, guidelines or conversations around that I believe will be fitting. Now, if that is a person that is not on the board and we have that person, let's just say we hire somebody or whatever that may look like, who's to say then that even their opinions may not be, could be biased as well. And so there's just a space in which the board would have to, of course, decide. That is a board decision, naturally. And I just wanted to make sure I noted that.
I appreciate that, Dr. Garrison. Yeah, that is, I hear you. And as I stated earlier, though, at the end of all the discussion, then it actually is the decision comes down to the board president. So if we were to hire somebody, then that's an additional cost to the board and the district that right now we probably don't need. So anyway, any other discussion? Okay, I need a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of policy 141.1, board officer elections, waiving first reading and approving for final reading.
So moved.
I'll second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. 2-0. Okay, next up is policy 2G, policy 141.1, rule 1, board officer election procedures. And again, it's very similar to the previous one. It's just a couple changes in paragraph 2. We've added the word "and" after secretary and before treasurer. And Mrs. Shope, we need to take the comma out after secretary. And then we and treasurer, comma, or treasurer respectfully, and we deleted "and parliamentarian." So I'll open it for any discussion. Here, go.
To be clear, Mr. Nichols, we're doing this as part of the last vote also. It's kind of a
Right,
housekeeping
there's-
thing.
yeah,
This is
there's-
nothing different.
There's 4 policies
Correct.
tied to this.
And we got to go through one by one. Thank you.
So any additional discussion? Hearing none, I would need a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of policy 141.1, rule 1, board officer election procedures, waiving first reading and approval for final reading.
So moved.
I'll second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. Okay, next policy is 141.2, board officer duties. And if you look at that policy, it's almost 4 pages, and basically we are deleting the last section, board parliamentarian, and all the verbiage that goes with that. That's the single change to the policy. So it's open for discussion.
Thank you, Committee Chairman Nichols. One caveat, and I know this is open, but I know we're going to be reshaping the board secretary position. So this, just to let people know that some of this might come back under a different heading. And just, to be transparent, that, I might suggest later on that parliamentarian and board secretary are combined, or whatever we decide to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I need a motion to move to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of policy 141.2, board officer duties, waiving first reading and approving for final reading.
So moved.
I'll second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. Sorry about that. Policy 2I, 174, Board Organizational Meeting, and very similar to a couple of the other ones. It's second paragraph, line 2. We're going to take out, we're going to include the word and, remove the comma after the clerk. No. Yeah, clerk, enter the comma after the clerk, add the word and then after treasurer, we're going to delete and parliamentarian. Any discussion? Hearing none, I need a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of Policy 174, Organizational Meeting, waiving first reading and approving for final reading.
So move, sir.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. Okay, the next policy up is Policy J, Policy 185.4, Policy and Personnel Committee. This would be basically a name change with some additional Board Member Johnson. Board President Johnson.
You can finish if you want. I just was putting my hand up.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, there's been some discussion about that. You know, we pretty much eliminated the HR committee and kind of melded it into the regular board meeting. But at the same time, there's it's my understanding a few years back we had the policy committee and the personnel or human resources, or that's, we could decide on the wording of the committee, but it worked together, so it was able to review HR or personnel issues prior to the board taking a look at it, and then putting it on the consent agenda for further discussion if needed. So I will open that for discussion, and Board President Johnson, you had your hand up first, so I'm going to call on you.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know if any members there have any comments or suggestions, so my apologies if I'm speaking out of turn. My only suggestion is perhaps rather than personnel, use the term human resources. That's the term we have here in the school district of Beloit. We have a human resources department, and I understand the personnel is perhaps a bit outdated.
Okay, good point. Thank you. Board Member Hankins, do you have comments?
Yes. So this would, and just to point out, obviously when we do go into personnel matters at the full board, we go into closed session. So I'm just wondering if that causes any not concern, that, if we do go forward with this, that this committee would then go into closed session on personnel matters.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Yes, we definitely would still do that. Let me read the changes to this. So, to assist in creating a learning environment that optimizes student achievement by studying and recommending to the full board necessary policy revisions and personnel, or human resources actions that will best meet the needs of students. The Policy and Personnel or Human Resources Committee will regularly recommend creation, deletion, or modification of current policies to the whole board for action. That's already in the policy. Other addition is another paragraph. The Policy and Personnel or Human Resources Committee will assist in creating a learning environment that optimizes student achievement by, 1, studying and considering all personnel recommendations prior to board action, making recommendations to the full board, or denying the superintendent's personnel recommendations after study and deliberation. So there you have it.
So going into closed session is not problematic for a committee?
No.
Okay.
Dr. Garrison?
Yes, so I guess I had a question. We moved to putting this into the full board space because the full board inevitably will have to approve and or not approve the HR space.
Okay.
That practice was moved for this year. Was there concerns about that, or does this policy is coming based off of the change to the? I just wanted to see where.
Well,
yeah.
I think, in my humble opinion, I think we did improve things by moving it into that. I said, but at the same time, there still seem to be some challenges as it relates to closed session, versus open session, and I think. We have situations where we go in and we're there for a very short time and we come back. I think this would facilitate, again, shorter time periods getting through those processes, because you're going to have a committee actually looking at everything prior to it coming to the board, to the full board.
Rebuttal for that. So with that statement, I think that makes a lot of sense. However, with 7 board members, things being pulled off from the consent agenda is could be a regular occurrence. And the same time that we would put into one could argue, the new policy here in closed session could very much so repeat itself at the full board level. As you all know, not all board members attend the committee level meetings, which
Correct.
Again does present, other questions and other concerns
Correct.
that may come from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from a time perspective, I would venture into thinking that this could actually take more time versus less time, just based off of our, practices that we have. On the other side of that, this could also hinder us from our hiring current practice, which would mean that, let's just say someone is hired after let's just say using the first as an example. And if that person isn't on the requisitions on the first, when we have these conversations, let's say at a committee level, technically we would have to wait until the next month, because the committee has to see them first based off of this policy. And in a district our size, to be honest with you, we are trying to get people in as quickly as we need to have them in to serve our students. Right. And so this could also put that delay in our hiring practices just based off of, just when we are able to get people through a hiring requisition. Mm-hmm. And I know people may think truly that it should be someone is hired and then they start the next day. That's great to think that. Yeah. And there's a lot of other processes that we have to go through in order to get people through the process to bring straight to the board. And then after they are, of course, approved, they can right away start working. And we pretty much try to time that. Now with the space that we have now, let's say we missed it, we still got 2 weeks to do it again. Now this could also create some greater concerns, especially in our months of big time hires. When I say big time hires, that's pretty much throughout the summer and right before the school year. I've had to, in the past, even have special board meetings just to get new hires on before we start school, even with the 2 meetings. And so I understand that that's a space, but I would venture to think that this could also take us more time and put us in a different time space that could actually hinder the space that we've been working from. So for that, I would prefer us not to move personnel into this space, and policy could remain as it's been. That's my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Board President Johnson, your hand is raised.
Thank you, Vice President Nichols. I am okay with leaving the HR recommendations and the hiring at the board level and just at the board level. And my reason for that is, yeah, that all needs to be approved by the full board. The years ago, when I served on the school board, we had the policy committee was policy and personnel. This gave the board members and administrators at the committee level the opportunity to discuss and work on issues of staffing, staffing structure, staffing forecasting, expectations. What we are really missing right now as a district, and I think perhaps we could really benefit from having more focus on what we're doing in terms of our employee structure. I would like to see and have there be an understanding that the HR recommendations still, Exhibit A, still continue as they are, but have the committee working. Sorry, I don't mean to be throwing more on your plate, but I know you guys can handle it. And we can also, if it's a concern, we can put this as let's do this for a trial practice of 3 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Board President Johnson. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, that would help facilitate what Dr. Garrison is talking about. We would still move we would still do Form A and or Form B as needed at the 2 board meetings, and then we would tackle the other issues in the policy, and let's go ahead and call it Human Resources Committee, and I think we could make more progress that way. I'm certainly I'll leave that. Board Member Hankins, do you have other comments?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. I disagree. I think that the motion presented out of committee, everything has to be, it goes to the board. It's recommendations that come out of any committee to go to the full board. I do think having HR hires, resignations being approved at board level sometimes can be, sometimes I sit back there and go, oh, I didn't know this, and we start getting into a conversation about that, and I understand the time constraint, but these are important matters, and some of that could have been flushed out at the committee level prior to the board, and the policy HR committee could make a recommendation, and of course, the full board will look at that again. But I think having seen that at the policy HR committee level first, we would have time to flush it prior to the board meeting and getting that. And I think there's a way to have a HR policy committee meeting, like Dr. Garrison said, and I certainly understand the constraints of hirings. But during the busy months, maybe we do meet a week prior to every board meeting. That's up to us, but I do like the idea of a double check on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hankins. What about the idea of an agreed upon timeline to either try it or just go full force, and then if we need to change something else, we can come back to the policy committee can come, any HR committee can come back.
I'm all in favor of trial periods. We've had numerous in my first year. Some we haven't gone back and revised back. Some have stayed. I'm all for a 3-month trial period. Our cold cadence review, I don't think we did a actual review of the new changes we made in cadence back in May, June of last year. And this kind of leads into that. So I think it'll tie into the whole thing that I truly enjoy the idea that Board President Johnson brought forward about a trial period. And to see if it is healthy, productive, or is it just a time-consuming waste of time? Sorry. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm making notes. Okay, Board President Johnson, you recommended 3 months. What if we were to do 4 months? That would pretty much take us up until the first of the school year.
Oh, that whatever time, I was just throwing options out there.
Okay.
So,
Okay, how about if we review it in 4 months?
Clarify, please.
Well, we assuming we agree on this and we approve it and it moves forward, then we can review it in 4 months and see where we stand.
Well, to be clear then, we're going to present to the board a new motion or create this motion with the window. I mean, it's still got to be board approval, full
Yes,
board
right,
approval.
on Tuesday.
So,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, no.
So if with the 4-month revision, I'm good for, when we get two people together and we can come up with a, common goal, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Are you good? Well,
No question.
Dr. Garrison?
Thank you. So, in meetings, out of meetings, committees, more committees, I think our goal is to, of course, get questions answered. And no matter when these, of course, are presented to the board, there's space where board members can reach out and ask questions. And I think that's oftentimes a missed space when looking at any HR requisition. I think when we add more to the plate, in essence, we're just adding more to the plate. When we can actually reach out and get questions answered, but if board members so choose to reach out and ask questions around a specific hire or a specific, proposal, and at any given time, a board can say, hey, we want to have a discussion or a special meeting on HR practices, or HR conversations. I just think that when we're adding more committee work and adding more committee conversations, I think we're missing the heart around just the conversation in general. The school district's open 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. And we can have these conversations as it pertains to individual board member questions. I also believe that if it goes to committee, and let's say there's a hang-up or a thought in which we believe that the committee believes that we shouldn't be moving a name for it, that also hinders a full board vote. Because the committee now, two of three, I assume, will be making the decision for the full board by not approving something that district administration could believe we should be moving it to the full board for vote.
Yeah.
And that's just a thought, a process thought that needs to be considered as we kind of work through this space.
Board President Johnson? Board President Johnson?
this is,
Is he?
yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that, Brian.
Okay.
We are in a difficult spot with staffing right now, and I understand that we will need to be very flexible. And if this is, if it is that the HR recs come to first policy and then get bumped up to the full board, it may mean then that there are months where this committee will have to have a special meeting each month, the regular meeting and then a special meeting, just so that we can keep up with the district needs.
Right.
The idea is that something's been happening in the school district of Beloit, and we've not been streamlined. We've not been very efficient at what we're doing, and we need to really hone in on that. And I understand Dr. Garrison may not. I heard his comments about having it at the committee level and more discussion and whatnot. It needs to happen somewhere. We're not going to use more board time with the discussions that need to happen at committee level. And if this committee decides that it needs to have an ad hoc committee where you're talking to community members or whatever, so be it. That's the will of this committee. There are many issues happening simultaneously in the school district that need addressing, and what we're doing right now with our HR is insufficient. And let's do our best working together, working collaboratively, appreciating the input from everybody and hearing everybody that we that we can, because we need to make ourselves better and we need to do it as soon as possible. I am okay if the HR recs come to this committee, but then I want the committee to be prepared that during this trial period, you may have meetings twice a month.
Okay. Well, I agree with everything you say, but as you're talking, I'm thinking, I don't know that we want to put. Now I'm not sure that we would want to put a date or a time limit on it. I think we always have that ability to say, hey, this is not working well. We need to do something else, or this is working great. We continue on. So I guess I'm not inclined to agree with a time limit. I just think we need to do it. And I understand, Dr. Garrison, a second meeting, that happens. As you said, we've had to do that in the past with HR, so we can do it with this committee also, if needed. We've got. I'm not opposed to another meeting. We already have a lot of them, and but I think if it can help the district, if this can help the district move forward with better HR issues and get teachers hired and keep teachers, then I think that's what we need to try to do. It's I can tell you as a personal front and a manager, I was always willing to try something. If it didn't work, it didn't work. We said it didn't work and we moved on and we did something else. So we don't know till we try. It's I'm not a good speculator, so I think we should. I'm for moving this forward.
Just one additional question. This does say policy and HR rec.
And human resources. We're going to change it to human resources, I think.
No problem. Policy and policy committee.
Policy and human resources committee.
Got it. Policy and
Altogether.
Altogether. So here's the thing. We also got policy, and so
Yeah.
policy is a lot. We have a lot of policies as it is, and now we're doubling that work as well. I mean, and there is no other way to say it. We have a lot of policies that we have to review, and those take, we're here sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours, doing just policies.
Right.
And to add now to that same meeting, HR, I'm not sure if we are being it's just an effective use of time is very important for everybody at this board level, and of course, on my staff as well. And so that's what I'm also aiming at: effective use of our time. And so, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Nichols, Board Chair. I understand what you're saying, Mrs. Nichols. I'm sorry, Mr. Hankins, and also understand what Mrs. Johnson is stating. But again, we're doubling a meeting time, if anything. I mean, one could argue that, depending on what policies are being brought forth at any specific time.
Yeah.
So, effective use of all of our staff time is very important.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Board President Johnson, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you are right. We don't need to have a time on this if in a few months the chair of the policy committee and the policy members say, hey, this isn't working. If the HR department says, hey, this isn't working, we can change it. But I do think that we really need to work on stability in our staffing structure, and as board members, we've committed to doing everything we can, and there may be some redundancy, and such is life, unfortunately, so be it.
Okay, thank you, Board President Johnson. Board Member Hankins.
Thank you. Respectfully, I just want to counterpoint Dr. Garrison on a couple of things. As I found in my first year, and just as a human being going through when in group discussion leads to discussion. And yes, I know you have a very good open door policy, and I can pick up the phone and call you anytime I want. But when we're in closed session and we have all of us together, a board member might bring up something which I hadn't thought of, which leads to more discussion. So a question that I may have, if I call you, I'll get your answer, but when we're in a group, it's different. So there is that. And I understand the duplication of time. We're trying to get away from that. And I think now, if we're going to do this, I think it's a perfect time because we're going to reassign policy people, and we have 2 incoming new board members. They could be advised that if you're on policy, it may require 2 meetings a month, or make it to help admin hire people. I think it'd be more, actually in the long run, but who knows until we try it, more efficient to flush stuff out, and then it goes to board. And of course, there'll be more discussion and maybe the same discussion, but at least the committee level will have flushed out some of those questions and answers prior to the board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Hankins. Any other discussion? Okay, I am going to. I'm gonna read the motion, and then Mrs. Shope will need some. Well, actually, I'll start off, and we'll see where it goes. I need a motion to move to recommend to the full board the approval of the revisions of policy 185.4, policy and human resource committee waiving first reading and approving for final reading. And that would entail changing all the actual policy wording to human resources anywhere the personnel was used. There'd be 3 spots.
So moved.
I'll second. Any additional discussion?
Just go back to review the time factor. We're just going to put that on the back burner until the end of the summer and school season begins, and then revisit it?
We will, it will be an unending, we'll just review, as a group, as a board, as a committee, and as a board, we'll decide if we need to cut it off or leave it go.
Okay, just to be clear.
Okay. I second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. Next item is policy 2K 323.3, displaying of flags. And this is a new policy. And it's tied to the state statutes in 118.06. It requires all public schools to have flags, American flags in each room, and either say the Pledge of Allegiance or sing the national anthem. I'm assuming most schools would do the Pledge of Allegiance. But so I will read the policy each classroom in grades 5K through 12 building shall display the flag of the United States of America. Each classroom, district-owned school building, or administrative building shall fly or display only the United States of America flag, and at the discretion of the building administrator, the Wisconsin state flag. I will open it for discussion, and Board President Johnson, I'm going to start with you because you're the only one currently available.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
I said I'm opening it up to you because you're the only one that's currently available at this moment.
Oh, okay. I am in support of flying the two flags because there are the nationally recognized Heritage Month and History Month, and I don't know with the new federal administration how long those will continue to be as such, and I have concerns that just like last year when June came and the gay pride flag went up, there was pushback from community members wanting us to fly the heterosexual pride flag. I think we really need to get this taken care of. We have a lot of issues here in the school district of Beloit that we need to focus on. This seems like it should be a discussion argument if people want to argue over it outside of our realm, but it has come into the school district's realm, and it's unfortunate because we do have to educate our students. We have an entire community we have to serve. And please don't get me wrong, I am all in favor of everyone having their First Amendment rights that they can exercise. The issue here is which flags are we going to put up, and how are people's feelings going to respond to those flags? And there are thousands of people in this community. And one of the things that I know is we are all living in the United States. We're all living in Wisconsin. There may be, somebody, I don't know, maybe a virtual student or something like that coming from somewhere else. But those are the two things that we do absolutely have in common that I think we can agree on. The effort is to try to move this out of getting in the way of what we need to be focused on. And the school district of Beloit is kind of an anomaly that last year there weren't other school districts in Rock County flying gay pride flags. And again, I am not opposed to people having the right to fly their gay pride flags or any other flag. As a matter of fact, several years ago, when I was driving through Illinois, my son said, "Wow, Mom, aren't you upset because we just drove by that house and it had that flag up? And, and the flag he was referring to was the Confederate flag. And my response to him was, no, I'm not, because that's their house, that's their property, they can do what they want to on that property. I support them having that right and that freedom to do that. I said, where I have a problem is when it's on government property. I don't want a Confederate flag being raised in the school district of Beloit or on any government property. Let's have our flags represent all of us, and that's why I'm in support of this this policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Board President Johnson. Board Member Hankins?
Well, I think we should at least talk about the tornado warning
Let's pause
going
for a
on.
second. That's the tornado warning sign, but I'm sure there's no. Oh, it's a drill. They usually do it in on Wednesdays.
Today is like the National Tornado Awareness Day, and so they did it at 1:45 and 6:45. How's it 2 times? So it'll be done in just a minute.
Okay. Board President Johnson, I don't know if you could hear that, but they did a tornado warning siren test, and so that's why we paused. Hopefully you didn't have to listen to that. Board Member Hankins, any discussion or?
Just a comment, and again, this is nothing against anybody in this district or anywhere, because anybody who knows me, I'm not that guy. But I do agree that the flags flown at our public buildings, especially here at the district, because we have some control over that, should be just as what committee chair said. It's a slippery slope when we start siding with one and not the other side. You know, the people who support the gay pride flag, there's probably as many who don't support it, and then that creates the division. And it is a slippery slope. So I think it's just to exit out of the equation, and agreeing with Board Member Johnson, last year the kerfuffle that came up in June was just, you know, we have bigger fish to fry in this district. And if you want to fly whatever flag you want in your yard, God bless you. That's your right and my right, and that's why we're here. But I think as far as school district property goes, I think I'm very pleased that this is coming forward, and I will vote in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Hankins. I will just say a couple of things. First of all, I couldn't agree with more of you more than, you know, it's the U.S. flag is an all-inclusive flag, and it covers the whole country. It covers every single soul that's here and that will come here, and you know, it's all-inclusive. So I think that's, you know, I think that's the way we need to go. Mrs. Beavers, did you have your hand up earlier, or did you change your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that you've got 5K through 12 and our buildings are 4K.
Thank you. You're right.
You're welcome.
Duly noted. Okay. Any more discussion? Dr. Garrison.
Sure. So, and I understand the sentiments around, you know, the flags and flags in general. You know, from a district perspective, I also know that, you know, this could have a lot of different emotions around it, especially here in our community. And so one of the things that I will expect in this space is that, you know, of course, we can honor of course, the United States flag. But like I said, there's going to be conversations around, that in general, probably at the board level as well. One of the things that I've come to learn about Beloit is that there's a lot of different beliefs and belief systems and thoughts and thought processes around what should have and shouldn't be and what should be. But we're here, of course, to serve all our students. And I know the flag does have a lot of different emotions around it. And so not to say that our American flag doesn't have a lot of different emotions around it, other flags do too. And so I just know that that's going to be a space in which the board will probably have discussions around. And, I just want to make sure that that's noted. And even in our conversations over from one year to this year even, there's been a lot of conversations around that. And so just want to make sure I noted that.
Thank you, Dr. Garrison. I need a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of Policy 323.3, displaying of flags, waiving first reading, and approving for final reading. No.
So moved.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
Point of clarification, that motion, I changed for you, the suggested motion to say adoption of, because it's a brand-new policy. So
Okay.
that wouldn't be any revisions.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought it was a new, okay. So first reading and adoption.
The adoption of policy 323.3, displaying of flags.
Oh, adoption
And then
and
you can do the
pseudo-approval.
waiving of the reading and approving for final reading.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Point of order, do we have to rescind that, Michelle?
No.
The first one? No? Okay. I understand. I was just trying to make it,
Thank
okay. So we're on vote, or looking for a motion, I'm sorry.
No, vote.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, 2-0. Next policy is policy 840, public gifts to schools. Just made a couple of changes to decrease the amount to report to the board and the public from 1,000 to 100. And the reason being, obviously 1,000 is a lot bigger than 100, but I think there's a lot of people when we are able to get approval to either use the foundation or whatever for community gifts. I think that will be I think that will really surprise us, and not to I think we would just want just an acknowledgement in a board meeting of the just the people, we could put a small spreadsheet up on the screen or whatever for those who donated 100 or more for that month. You could do it at the beginning of the month, and so that's really the only change in the policy. So I will open it up for discussion. Board Member Hankins.
Yeah, and as I read through that, I think it's a good idea, and I know that it may be me a little bit more labor intensive on getting those numbers to, but it could be very simple. And as a board clerk, I read the public announcements. It could be part of that. Not so problematic, but a list of the people. Everybody likes recognition, and I also like to include in kind. I know at Head Start, there's a lot of in kind donations that need to be recognized, and So, I mean, there's all sorts of things that people want to do and help, and I think the opening, I mean, Board Megan Miller has said repeatedly that we have this foundation that has like $14 in it, so it's already set up. So I think that this is kind of could be a nice drive, and people will recognize that their name is a lot of people shun this kind of thing, but it's always nice to hear thank you. So I'm in agreement with this. Thank you.
Okay. Board President Johnson, do you have any comments? You don't have your hand up, but I thought I'd ask anyway.
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Garrison.
Like, to track $100 for everybody that gives in the school district of Beloit, in a district our size, again, goes back to just additional, I don't know, I'm not sure if we want to say additional work because we track the money anyway. I don't want to say that. And I just think that if we want to bring recognition to anyone giving, we could just recognize anyone that's giving. Putting it at a number, you can just say $50 if you want. I mean, one could argue $25, it could go to 10. Mm-hmm. I just think that when we start to arbitrarily, possibly, start putting, lowering the numbers, I'm not sure what are we actually targeting in this space. The school district of Beloit has always accepted gifts well before 2025. We've never had to drop down to $100 to recognize anyone for their gifts. And so our current policy reporting gifts of 1,000 or more, to me, has been effective, and the administration would like to keep it that way. The board, of course, can make that final decision, and we'll move from there.
Thank you, Dr. Garrison. Board Member Hankins.
But I think even lowering it to whatever, but I think it's twofold to recognize. It advertises that we are grateful, and then we do accept donations, and maybe, I don't know if I wanted to give $100 to the district. Being on the board, I don't know, do I go to the front desk and give them a check? I'm not sure the nuances of doing that, and I know that there are a lot of things. I just think the publicity generated by just our council meetings and we are willing and open to accept and be grateful for it. I think it will help. We are a district that needs funding, and every dollar helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Hankins. There's no more discussion. I would entertain a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of Policy 840, waiving first reading and approving for final reading.
So moved.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, 2-0. Last one is Policy 881.3, Relations with Faith and Community Organizations. That's a proposed name change, and I will open it up for discussion.
Yes, if you would beg my pardon, would you go back to the genesis of this and what the desired outcome of this proposed policy? Thank you. I mean, I read it, but
Okay.
just what the genesis was.
Well, just to, within the confines of federal and state law, and we actually list some community organizations in here: YMCA, Caritas, Rotary, State Line Community Foundation, Boys and Girls Clubs. And so we want to, in the course of a city this size, we want to work, we want to work and support cooperative working relationships. I'll read the first paragraph. In an effort to support our students, our families, and the goals of the district, the Board of Education welcomes and supports cooperative working relationships with our community churches, synagogues, temples, and community organizations that are an integral part of our diverse community. I'll give you a real quick first example is that, Dr. Garrison and others, actually went to various churches over the last couple of months in sharing the information about our referendum. I don't remember the number, Dr. Garrison, 3 or 4 churches. And then that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about is working together. I know as a matter of fact that I know for a fact there are 3 churches in the city. One donates $1,000 to the high school. This is school supplies in the fall. To the high school, I can't remember which middle school, and I think Hackett $1,000 worth of school supplies. Another church does monthly backpack donations to, I think, underprivileged students at Hackett, and another church just started sending non-perishable food to the school on Fridays for those who are, struggling for the weekend because the kids are getting food on Monday through Friday, breakfast, lunch, and sometimes after school. But when they go home, it's not so good. So that's part of one of their things. So, we are. It's an all-encompassing thing for the city to work together openly with our churches, churches, synagogues, temples, and community organizations that I read earlier, and that's just a sample. So that's the idea.
I just have a question. When we start naming names, obviously we can't name everybody, right?
No, I didn't name any names.
Well, I mean, such as YMCA, Caritas.
Those are
Rotary.
community organizations that
Correct.
we work with. So,
But it's, you know what I mean? It's not exclusive to that.
no,
Et cetera means everybody, right?
correct.
Not listed.
Right.
Just so that's duly noted. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion? Hearing none, could I get a motion to recommend to the full Board of Education the approval of the revisions of Policy 8881-3, including changing the title to Relations with Faith and Community Organizations, waiving first reading, and approval for final reading?
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. Okay, we're on to 3A. Next meeting date is Wednesday, May the 7th, 2025 at 5:30, right here. And could I get could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:03 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening and a great weekend.
Everyone